Okay, so here's a really pretty red and gold and black book called Buzz. You can see there's all these decorations on the front here, showing a beehive and sort of a stylized spelling of the title, which is B-U-Z. So the title is Buzz. On the edge here, on the spine, you can see the title as well as the author's last name, and then the publishing house at the bottom, which is Henry Holt and Company. On the back, there really isn't anything to note. It's just a solid red cover. I can't tell exactly what material this is made out of, the cover. It's sort of cloth-like, but then it has sort of a coolness like leather as well. So let's open it up here. You can see the edges are a bit worn on the cover. Some of these pages are a little loose, so you can see that one. It's coming out a little bit. So you just got to be really delicate with these old books. So here's another recommended book by the publisher, I think. And then the title page here, which is Buzz, or The Life and Adventures of a Honeybee by Maurice Noel. And then it's published by Henry Holt and Company in 1886. And you can see their little logo there with the owl. So here's the preface, and we've got this really nice engraving here for the first capital letter. In this little story, the author ventures to hope that he may succeed in interesting children, perhaps even some big children, in the habits of bees, and in inducing them to study for themselves their most wonderful lives. He has attempted to describe a few only of the many operations with which all beekeepers of the present day are perfectly familiar, and has not introduced any mention of the bar-framed hives, which make the manipulation of bees comparatively simple. His object has been to awaken interest rather than to attempt instruction, but at the same time, except for such parts of it as are obviously imaginary, his story describes nothing that he has not witnessed in his own hives. So this author, I wasn't able to find much about the author, Maurice Noel, but online or anything. But it's clear that he is a beekeeper himself, and that the contents of this book are written from experience. But one of the things that's so great about this book, and what makes it so unique, is that it's sort of fantastical. It's written from the perspective of a honeybee, and it's sort of her whole life. It's almost like a biography written by a honeybee. And you can see these really beautiful decorative engravings. And here are the table of contents. You can see sort of the progression of the bee's life with the different events that it experiences. So there's mentions of a swarm there. So here's the first chapter. Each chapter begins with a different, unique capital there, and they're all really beautiful. So the first thing Buzz remembered was having the cramp very badly in two of her left legs, and not being able to stretch them, for she was so carefully packed up in her cell that it was impossible to move. But she found there was a chance of getting through the ceiling, so she bit and pushed a bit till she could put her head out. This was satisfactory, as far as it went, but it had its inconveniences. A bee immediately ran across her face, and she shrank back. She put it out again, and two bees in a desperate hurry trod all over it, and she shrank back again. And so for some time she kept on trying to emerge and being driven back, till at last, becoming accustomed to the manners of the hive, and taking no notice of the pushes and shoves, she scrambled out and stood on the comb, a very promising young bee. So that's just the sort of origin of each bee, and just describing her coming into existence, I guess. And each chapter ends with a little decorative print there as well. So here's another capital letter. You can see two bees sitting and sort of looking at I believe a sunrise. Big capital N there. All right, and I'm just kind of flipping through here to give a sense of the the sort of length of the book and the style and everything. Just taking a look at these capital letters again. This one is really pretty. Shows a butterfly there. The bee has a conversation or a dispute with a butterfly in this chapter. For a few days after her narrow escape, Buzz did not venture far from the hive, and worked steadily and well. She now and then met Hum, and they were always good friends, but she found that what she had heard was quite true, and that there was not much time for anything but work. One morning, however, as they were both waiting near the entrance of the hive till it should be warm enough to go out, Hum asked Buzz if she had seen the queen yet. Oh, and you can see this decoration up here with a cornucopia. Yeah, so there's just the whole sort of story of this bee's life in here. And I just thought that was such an interesting perspective to take as the author, to write from the perspective of the bee. And this section's about swarming. You can see a swarm there in that capital O. One morning early, Buzz was on the point of starting for the top of Cottlestone Hill. She had been there several times already. Indeed, it was a favorite place of hers. She so thoroughly enjoyed the long flight to it through the air. It was so glorious to mount high up above the fields and to see the dewdrops sparkling like diamonds in the morning sun. To listen to the lark as he took his first upward flight and poured out his song for joy that another day had come. To inhale the fragrance of dawn, knowing that all the flowers which made it so sweet were waiting for her, and would be glad when they saw her coming. This was delightful indeed. Yeah, so there's just sometimes the author gets a little poetic or sort of tries to paint a beautiful picture just to keep things interesting. But everything in here is also pretty factual about how bees live. Obviously, they've been anthropomorphized in this, but the actual tasks and things that they do are, it's still an educational book. It still will kind of teach you a little bit about how bees live. So here we go. This is another chapter towards the end, it looks like. This one's showing how to build a comb. And this book, which is about, it was 1886, I think it was, when it was published. It's about, what is that? Like, it's over 100 years, so about 140-ish years old. This one is a chapter about a swarm, a second swarm, some idle hours. It says, it's got another great capital letter there. And I also really like the border that they put around each section of text on each page here. It just gives it this really kind of clean, crisp look. I thought those kind of look like a larvae, which might be intentional since that's how bees start out. And then here is another chapter. This is about the drones getting pushed out of the hive. On the following morning, the hive seemed to Buzz very inconveniently crowded, and not being in the best of tempers, she was disgusted to find the passage along which she was hurrying between the combs nearly blocked by a lot of drones. "Bother the lazy thing," she said to herself. "No more have I," cried another bee who happened to overhear her, "and I'm glad to find you're of the same opinion, but I can tell you what it is," she continued, when they had reached the entrance. "There is quite a strong feeling growing up against them, and they had better look out for themselves." "Ah," said Buzz, "I'm not surprised at what you say. I heard only yesterday that they were likely to have a bad time of it soon." So they're having a conversation about how the drones are all getting in the way and how they're going to kind of force them all out of the hive, which is something that happens with the sort of cycle of beehives, I guess. All right, and that's getting towards the end of the story there. So I'm just sort of flipping through to show the sort of back end of the book here. So this is some advertisements for the Young Folks Cyclopedia, which I believe is from the same publishing house. Yeah, so Henry Holt and Company there. And then that's the end of the book. And there's this sort of inlaid paper there for additional decoration and protection on the back. So that is Buzz. Thank you for watching, and if you feel inclined, feel free to like or give us a comment. Thanks. Bye.